And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Friday, February 25th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. So here are some of the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The Lake Superior Chippewa Fond du Lac Band in Duluth, Minnesota has purchased an old hotel in downtown Duluth to expand its casino, but plans to move forward with the expansion are on hold while the Fond du Lac Band fights with the city over its share of casino profits. The Chippewa Band bought the Carter Hotel for $318,000 from an estate through Wells Fargo Bank in the Twin Cities. About 20 low-income residents recently found out they'll have to move out by the end of next month. Tribal chairwoman Karen Diver tells the Duluth News Tribune the Fond du Lac Band is trying to change a 1994 agreement that gives the city a third of their casino profits. Over tribal objections, Idaho House Speaker Lawrence Denny is pushing a plan for Idaho to tax cigarettes sold on the state's Indian reservations. The Republican leader introduced his measure on February 23rd in the Revenue and Taxation Committee. Denny says it will prevent Idaho residents from traveling to reservations just to get a good deal on low-tax cigarettes, while leveling the playing field for off-reservation retailers that must pay the 57-cent per pack state tax. The Coeur d'Alene tribe in the northern Idaho only charges 10 cents tax per pack, while the Nez Perce tribe near Lewiston charges 24 cents. If Denny's bill passes, Idaho's 5 tribes could apply for a state tax credit. But tribal leaders say they weren't consulted on Denny's bill and believe that the tax policy remains an issue of sovereignty. An artist who created a bronze sculpture for Kevin Costner is suing the actor to force him to sell the work of art. Peggy Dittmer says she spent more than 6 years creating the sculpture of 14 bison and 3 American Indian hunters for a resort Costner had planned to open in South Dakota's Black Hills. The Rapid City Journal says Dittmer's values the sculpture at $2.2 million. Costner says he still wants to build the resort he planned 20 years ago. Meanwhile, he spent $6 million to build a visitor center and create a display site for the sculpture. Dittmer says she wasn't properly consulted on that project. Costner filmed much of the Academy Award-winning movie Dances with the Wolves in South Dakota and later bought a casino there as well. A Wisconsin State Senate committee passed a bill February 22nd that will require voters to show photo identification at the polls, approving it over the objection of a sole Democratic state senator that wasn't allowed to vote. Senator John Erpenbach, one of the 14 Senate Democrats who left the state last week rather than vote on a bill taking away collective bargaining rights for public employees and reducing Medicare programs for low-income people, joined the committee meeting by phone. He and other Democrats have been participating and voting in committee meetings by phone ever since they left. Republican Senator Mary Lazich, chairwoman of the Elections Committee, refused to let Erpenbach ask questions or vote on the voter ID proposal. Lazich accused Erpenbach of an ethical violation for not being in Madison to take up the governor's budget repair bill that has led to 12 days of protest in the Capitol, in which demonstrators, including American Indians, have filled the halls of the Capitol and the streets of Madison, Wisconsin. The meeting on the voter ID bill was held under the watch of 4 state patrol officers in the parlor of the state Senate chamber. A limited number of members of the police were limited members of the public were escorted in to watch. The committee also voted to expand the number of acceptable IDs to include U.S. passports and tribal identification cards. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker also on February 25th cleared the way for an order for police officers to expel the protesters from the Capitol Rotunda and the Capitol in general this weekend. In return, the head of the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Officers Union called on police officers from the state and elsewhere to join protesters this weekend in a sleepover in support of the, quote, peaceful and respectful, unquote, protest taking place. Henvey Inlet First Nation is pleased to announce that its power corporation in Ontario has been awarded a fed-in tariff contract from the province. The Ontario Power Authority has approved 40 new large-scale renewable energy projects, including solar, wind, and water, representing more than 872 megawatts. The tribe's Nigik Power Corporation will produce 300 megawatts through its wind farm project and produce enough electricity each year to power about 70,000 homes. Henvey Inlet First Nation Chief Wayne McQuabi says their project team worked diligently for the past 2 years for the project to arrive at this point, and that it is a monumental moment for the First Nations to be awarded such a large-scale project. Virginia's 2 senators have reintroduced legislation that would grant federal recognition to 6 of Virginia's state tribes. Senators Jim Webb and Mark Warner said in a release that they've reintroduced the Indian Tribes of Virginia Federal Recognition Act. Last year, a committee approved the measure, but it didn't receive a vote in the full Senate. The 6 Virginia tribes are the Chickahominy Tribe, the Chickahominy Indian Tribe Eastern Division, the Upper Mattaponi Tribe, the Rappahannock Tribe, the Monacan Indian Nation, and the Nansemond Indian Tribe. Federal recognition would qualify the 6 tribes for certain federal benefits. Representative Jim Moran also reintroduced the Indian Tribes of Virginia Federal Recognition Act in the House of Representatives. Northern California's Native American tribes are clashing with state wildlife regulators over plans to restrict fishing off parts of the rugged coastline from the Oregon border south to Point Arena in Mendocino County. The tribes include the Yurok, the state's largest, say proposals for marine protection areas along the north coast infringe on their fishing rights. Those proposals, currently before the State Fish and Game Commission, were crafted under California's 1999 Marine Life Protection Act, which was aimed in part at preventing overfishing and restoring depleted fisheries. The main issue is the Marine Life Protection Act has the potential to make criminals out of cultural practitioners, said Nick Angeloff, a historic preservation officer for the Bear River Band of the Ronerville Rancheria. It is the biggest threat to tribal sovereignty in decades. And a reminder that on Saturday, February 26th, we're going to be live streaming through IndianCountryTV.com and at IndianCountryNews.com the Land of the Menominee Welcome Powwow, which is the reopening of their brand new convention center down there in Kashina, Wisconsin. So if you're not on your way to Madison to support those protesters as they're evicted from the state capitol this weekend, stop by Kashina or tune in online to the Welcome Powwow at IndianCountryTV.com. Thanks for joining with us again. Join with us again soon. Miigwech.